All right, swell, hello and welcome to another weekly edition of Stock Market Mutterings. This is for the week beginning on the 18th of March. This is where I will take a grope in the murkiness and try my best to make sense of this market and try my best to find you some quality trade setups. Now, speaking of trading, if you guys need help with that, you're trying to take your trading to the next level, you're trying to align yourself with a community of professional traders, you just need a little boost to either get the most out of your trading or get your trading into a consistent level. I'm going to post a link on the screen. Take a moment, click that link, and you can start trading with us live. So now that we're going to start here talking about some things, I believe, my friends, we have seen something here. There is a clue. The SPY has given us a clue. The market has told us a clue, and we need to be paying attention to this on Monday and Tuesday, because I think you're going to see a very pivotal moment or a very pivotal thing happen here in this market that's going to guide us to where our next move is, and I think it's really important, so that's what we're going to start out talking about. Let's take a look at the SPY. Now, one thing that we have determined here this week is that this 282 level is like the concrete ceiling at Fort Knox. It simply refuses to press through there with any authority. Now, this is something I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, how massive this resistance, and now you're starting to see how difficult this market is trying to get through this resistance. Now, where we stand now, it's either saying, look, are we consolidating? Well, that's the million-dollar question here. Are we consolidating at these highs for a move higher, or is this constant rejection off here lining us up for some more severe correction? I don't want to use the word severe. I mean, maybe talk about just a little bit deeper pullback into some of the moving averages or deeper support, which we'll talk about. So let's go back and look at this so we're all on the same page. You've got, this goes all the way back to October. I've highlighted this before. You see on October 15th, 16th area there of last year, you have this 282 high. It got back up there before in November, then back again in December. Now that third time was really heavy rejection. We all remember what happened in December. It was just a mass sell-off. And then the market rallies right back up to that. So since this is hit, this year alone, since this Christmas Eve rally started, we are now bordering from the 25th of February up to now. So we're like 3 weeks here trying to pop through this 282 average. And it keeps doing that. So you got back up here again at the beginning of March, and then up here again this week. You had 2 days where the market spent a fraction of its time above that level, only to end up doing kind of what it did on Friday here, selling off towards the end. So what you're seeing here is this lack of trying to press through that number. So let's just start working with this 282. If you can get an authoritative press through that, you can get a strong move through that and a nice close above that. Because to me, I think right now the close is very important. It hasn't really been able to close above 282 yet with really strong authority. If you do that, I don't see how you can't make the case for all-time highs, or at least there's going to be this run, in my opinion, and that's just my opinion, that you're going to try to get back up to October's all-time highs, to the 291s. I think you'll see another run up there. If we keep messing around here and not able to do it, which I think when I'm talking about keep doing, I think you're going to see this answer to this question Monday, Tuesday of the week, that I believe you're going to see some lower prices. You're going to do something similar that you did a couple of weeks ago when it got up into that moving, not the moving average, excuse me, but it got up into that resistance and then was rejected right back to the 200-day moving average. So I would expect something similar for a fade back down to that 200-day moving average. So kind of think of it that way. I'm partially leaning a little bit more towards the sell-off based on the fact that we have fatigued several, not just one time, 2 times, 3 times. I mean, we've like 7 times here. We have faded off of that number. Now, albeit it hasn't faded very far, but it has faded. The other part is we can't kind of forget about Christmas Eve, that this is not just, this is a massive rally that came up 20%, and, you know, it's kind of messing around with this area, so maybe a little bit of back testing in some of this is due. Now, having said that, you never trade your biases. You just trade what you're seeing. You know, if it goes above the 282s, closes above there, then my thoughts are more bullish. As we progress now, I'm thinking maybe a little bit more bearish. So I've got a plan for both, and that's what we'll talk about. But the important thing to take away from this is that right here on this chart, it's telling you right now, you're going to see something, I think, take place in the first couple days of trading here, because this number is so important. It's starting to struggle. So you're either finally going to get that strong move to run through this and close above it and start seeing a little more rally, or you're going to pull back off of that. Now, I would think if you pulled back off it after the 7th time, then maybe we're talking about something that stretches out a little further as far as a pullback, but one step at a time. Let's just see how the week starts. Now, on that note, I want to kind of move towards looking at some possible short trades and a couple of longs. So let's start out with that. I can get my list. Oh, I know what I want. I think the first order of business, like it was BA for me a couple of weeks ago, is SHOP. You really have to take a look at this SHOP. I mean, first of all, the daily chart says it all. This is a stock that was down there 119 all the way up here to 210, practically 210 today. And then it was kind of trying to work its way up there. This is what we talk about rejection. You get up here, you start messing around with a level, you can't get through it, then sometimes hefty rejection comes off. Now, this was pretty strong. This was a pretty strong sell-off on this stock late here on Friday. One you haven't look at the chart. I mean, you haven't seen this very often at all this entire year with SHOP. Now, just because it went down here one afternoon out of the hundreds of afternoons it's been trading doesn't mean it doesn't necessarily make it a short. But I think when you're looking at where it's come from, remember, just over this last week or so of trading, this stock has gone from 180 to almost 210. So that's a hell of a move, all right? Whether you love the stock, you're bullish on the name, for a short-term run, that's pretty damn steep, no matter who you are. So I really like to look at this one short. It's down a little bit here. It has some impressive bounces. I wouldn't write off how hardcore this can bounce. But maybe you get a little bit of a bounce Monday, a little bit of a panic rally. You get back up to 208, 209. I think I like this one as a short. Or if it continues to show weakness and it stops having so many rallies, then I would also look to short it. Now, for some of you swing traders, you could do some options on this. Not a bad idea here. I think you're going to see a pullback this week in SHOP, either down towards 200 or possibly down to the 10-moving average of 195. So I think that's in the cards here for SHOP this week. Another one on this would be, who else am I looking at here? Is TTD. TTD. Same thing here. Now, TTD is not as vert as SHOP. You know, this is a little bit different. It come out of earnings, made a nice rip, has gone back up through highs, but still, I think the same scenario. So, you know, the price from 110 to 208 is that's a pretty big move. I mean, talking about some of these stocks that's up 100% in a very short period of time. And regardless of how strong they are, you know, all good things come to an end. And some of these really need a good pullback. Again, this is not as vertical or as grinded upwards or linear as something that you saw there in SHOP, but TTD's on the list. Again, all of these are just short-term, short opportunities for a trader here. I think some of these are going to start back testing some of their back levels here. I think you're going to see this trade down to 197s or something like that. And any kind of market fade would only help that out. Now, I did say not everybody's immune, man. I don't care who you are. Everybody gets ahead of themselves, right? Even your best friends, and that's Apple. Apple. I love Apple. I do. I love this stock. I've always had some great success trading the stock. Most of the time it's been long. I just like this stock. But now I'm looking at this, and it's the same thing as you have with the SHOP. It's the same thing as you have with the TTD. It's short-term overbought. I mean, this is a big move for this guy right here. This thing went from 169s to 187s to, I mean, that's a lot over the last week. So you've seen a real big explosion, and you got this 200-day moving average above that. You're also just slightly above the resistance from December 3rd. So I think what you're going to see is just a simple old pullback. I'm not calling for a market crash or a collapse. But I think some of these things need a little bit of a rest. And I think when you look as a trader, one of the things that we need to do is determine which side of the fence the value will be on. Where is the big money to be made? Is it going to be on the long side? Is it going to be on the short side? I think right now you have to entertain that idea, just as we did with BA about a week or so back when we shorted that one there. You looked at that chart and you said, hey, look, this thing is way the hell overbought. Now, that was back here. And I made some good money on that one, and I'll just be completely honest. The news here, I wasn't in it when the news saw it. I'd already cashed out. That's just something that's a little bit different there. You know, it's a terrible event, obviously, and unfortunate. But prior to that, the same thing. The stock was just really, really up high. Now, this is also on my list, and maybe this one here is a long. You've got an awful lot of support down here at this 3. This thing is messed around with about 366 is a lot. And it feels like there's some sort of support down there because every time it gets down there, you start to see some really aggressive moves. And today you start getting down in that area and, you know, not only did you get it moved, but you got a nice piece of news laid out right there. Now, whether that news was specifically timed down into support, I don't know. I don't know. It's convenient, right? You guys remember the church lady? How convenient. I don't know, that's not a good impression. But anyway, something there. Something's there that just keeps holding up. Now, it's definitely news sensitive, and it's something that I think is best to be day traded. Either that or you got to use options because you just don't know what might come out overnight or what could happen over a weekend. But I'm feeling this one is a long, or at least wants to do a little bit of a bounce. But it's still a touch erratic for most people. So kind of keep that one up there on the list as a possible long. I kind of like this one long. If they get cleared on all this stuff or that kind of passes, then I think you're going to see the stock make a rally back towards the 400s. And then another long could be old former glory Roku. I'm kind of interested in a little bit of Roku. Now, I did take a long on this one this week. It didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work. I'm not proud to tell you that. It didn't work. This thing got sold off pretty heavy and downgraded. And, you know, you have to take those downgrades sometimes with a grain of salt. Some companies get hit really hard over that. Some do not. But this is a big washout on a momentum stock. Now, this is definitely overbought too. Don't forget, this one as well was down here at 30 bucks. It was all the way at 70. It's hella overbought. So this thing can, you know, in my opinion, is probably going to end up back down at 50 bucks at some point. But it's not going to do that, I don't think, all in one shot. It's going to bounce around. It's going to make rallies. Just remember, stocks go up and down, not up or down. They just go back and forth like this. So I think if you hold up this shorter term 60, you'll see a pop. Maybe it's one day, maybe it's a half a day. I'm not saying it's going to go back up to the highs, but I kind of like this one. I like that one in BA for some panic bounces. Maybe you can throw Tesla in there for a panic bounce. But I think on these, when you're looking at it, especially if the market starts to sell, you got to be a little bit cautious about doing that. If you start to see some aggressive selling, that'll translate across the board. You got to look for levels on these, especially with something like BA that can drop $5, $6 out of nowhere. You got to really pick your spots on those. Be patient, and you'll be all right. On the other side, I think many of these names really do need just, if nothing else, a slowdown week, a little bit of back testing, a cool down lap, whatever you want to call it. So I'm kind of looking as we go into the beginning of the week how important that 282 level becomes to the market, and then how some of these stocks react. So anyway, I'll leave it there. I do want to thank you for watching this video. As always, if you guys need help, you know where I'm at. Visit thelincolnlist.com, click on that trading room tab. Until next week, I want to thank you very much. Trade well. I will talk to you then.